Hello, everyone. Victoria Emmanuel here. Welcome to another episode of Identity Code Podcast. This is episode 2 of season 3, and today we'll be talking about the topic silence, its power and its necessity. Silence, its power and its necessity. You see, we actually need frequent periods of silence in our lives. No matter what we do, no matter what we are involved in, silence is important because looking at it, we are bombarded by numerous voices in our world today, and sometimes we really need to take a break from this so many voices and then listen to God to really discover ourselves and to get strength for the next task or for what we are even doing. What silence is not is we not totally being in that position of isolation and silence. Sometimes we mistake silence for we being at home and then being on our phone, being on social media and all of that. Social media is also a voice. So silence is total shutdown, total isolation from everything and anything. From your friend, from your family, from your phone, from just you and God. You, nothing, and God. Absolutely nothing and God. That is when we can say that we are in silence. Now, isolation and silence help us to see the way in which we are comparing ourselves to others. When we are in a position of isolation, when we are in silence, we are able to see how we are comparing ourselves with others, how we are burning ourselves out, because comparison is the most significant factor in burnout. So we are able to see ourselves for who we are. We are able to see more than just our achievements, more than our mistakes, more than our error. We are able to see what we are meant to do and what we are meant to be doing. So the period of silence and isolation helps us to see how we are comparing ourselves with others. See, silence is not impressed by our achievements, is not impressed by how much we have in our accounts, how much of significance we make in our environment. Silence is when we are in silence and isolation, we see ourselves as just human, not a governor, not a president, not the chairman of board of directors. We see ourselves as nothing before God. So silence is not impressed by our achievement. And then just as oxygen is essential for the body, I can tell you categorically that silence is essential for our spiritual life, because silence burn out pride, burn out greed, burn out emotions, ungodly emotions that are not meant to be there. In the period of silence and isolation, we take a deep breath and know what exactly is going on, why we are doing what we are doing. It makes us see what we really are. It makes us to see who we really are, and what we should be doing and what we should not be doing. Remember the story of the adulterous woman in the Bible, when people wanted to stone her to death, and then Jesus came and set her free. And how did he do that? He made them reflect. He kept quiet when they asked him the question, although they even wanted to implicate him in a way and know maybe he will set an adulterous woman free. But he kept quiet and then was writing on the floor. And during that time of silence, he made them reflect. He made them reflect on their wickedness. And then he said, "He that is without sin should cast the first stone." And all of them began to leave one after the other. That's what silence can do. Silence makes us reflect. Silence make us think about what we are doing. Like, does it really make sense? Why am I being wicked to this person? Why am I saying this thing to this person? Why am I doing this to this person? So Jesus used the strategy of silence to set the adulterous woman free. And then when everyone has left, he said, "Where are your enemies? They are all gone." So silence is very powerful. It brings reflection. It makes us to think, because being with God in isolation and silence is like a fiery furnace. It burns away all wood, straw, and stubble. After that, we begin to see that which is eternal and indestructible. We begin to see the world as a place that is not our permanent place, a place that, and then we begin to look to God, the eternal God. Remember the story of Jesus as well, when the devil came to tempt him and say, "You know what, look at the glory of this world. I'm going to give you everything." Jesus had been on a 40 days fasting and prayer. He has been in a period of isolation and silence. He has reflected on the things that are eternal. And his reply was, you must not worship any other thing except the Lord your God. So he see all these things as something meaningless. He saw it as something that is not worthy compared to the eternal throne of God. So that's what silence can bring. It makes us to know the things that are eternal, focus on the things that are eternal and indestructible. Remember the story of Watchman Nee, that three young ministers came to meet him, and they were like, "Oh, they are so filled with zeal and passion, and they want to work for God, want to be passionate about the things of God, want to burn the word." And then he said he sent them to the desert for about 3 months, I guess. And when they came back, the zeal was still there, but now they depended more on God than themselves. They talk as someone that knew that they are nothing without God. That's what silence can do for it. Burns away all forms of arrogance, pride, greed, and then we reflect deeply. That's the importance of silence. That's the power of silence. That's the power of silence. When we begin to reflect on who we are, when we begin to understand that the battle of significance is not ours to fight. That's what silence can do. That's what silence reshape us, rebuild us. Silence helps us to understand that is not every matter or every issue we address as leaders, even as followers, or as a part of a group, as a member of a group. Silence is needed. Sometimes it's not every issue we address. In our words today, everybody wants to address everything. Everybody wants to prove that they know something, that they are on top, that they have something to say. But sometimes, not all the time should we have something to say. Remember the story of Jesus I shared earlier, how he set the adulterous woman free. Jesus could have said a lot of things and say, "Oh, you wicked generation," but he understood the significance of silence at that time. So it's sometimes as believers as well, it's not all issue we address, it's not everything we want to put our mouth and talk about. You allow some matters to unravel by themselves without talking, it just plays out naturally. So silence is very important in our day-to-day walk with God. Frequent period of silence is very essential, depending on our walk with God. Remember, Mark 1:35 also talked about how Jesus rose up early in the morning, and then he went for a quiet time, and then in silence and communion with his Father, he prepared himself for the sick to come. He prepared himself for the demons who confronted him. He was able to have conversations with God, and he prepared himself for the conversation he was going to have with the Pharisees and scribes. He also prepared himself for the training he had to give his disciples. Jesus was able to gather all these strengths in the place of silence and solitude. In the place of silence, we discover strength. We get strength. We build communion with God. We know what is the next step to take. It is in silence that we can determine how our day will go. Sometimes in the morning we need to sit down and strategize. Just communicate with God and decide how the day will unravel. It is in silence that we can build all this. Silence is not optional. It is a good thing and it is indispensable. So I hope this episode bless you, and I hope to see you in my next episode. God bless you. Remember, silence is indispensable. We need frequent period of silence in our day-to-day work with God. Bye. See you next time.